Good morning. Welcome to The Way It Was. This morning, join us as we have former Wilsonite Charles C. Heath with us, who now lives and has resided for a number of years in Shelby, North Carolina, who makes an annual trek back here to Oklahoma to Lake Murray Lodge for the school reunion and to see his former classmates of the 30s as he was as a graduate of the 1939 class. Good morning, Chuck, and welcome to The Way It Was.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here and meet your audience, and it's always a pleasure to come back to Wilson and visit.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you. I'll call you Chuck.
Good.
Chuck, I would like for you to go back with me in time and tell me who your parents were and when you first came to Wilson and your experiences with Wilson.
Well, I first came to Wilson in about 1930, and my parents were Connie and Kieran Heath, not Karen, but Kieran, and I had a sister named Dorotha. She graduated in 1935. Then we stayed here a few years and went back to Wewoka, and then we came on down here about 34, 35, and we stayed here until I graduated from high school.
Okay, you told me some interesting things, and I want to get deeper into your life. You told me about sweeping the streets of Wilson and about working on the trash truck.
Yeah.
Tell me about that and how that evolved.
Well, as all of you know, we were in a terrible depression in especially the early 30s, and it was very difficult to get a job around here, and so many people couldn't pay their taxes that they allowed them to work it out or someone to work it for them. So I went down to the city and volunteered to work my father's taxes out, and then subsequently I worked 2 or 3 other people out, and we worked on a trash truck, we worked on the garbage, we worked on the sewer, we swept the streets, whatever had to be done. And that was quite an experience for me, but I thought that's the way the world was in a depression at that age.
That perhaps started a good work ethic that you have kept all your life.
Yes, the entire depression introduced me to the real world early, and I didn't know that it was ever going to go away. So we all worked, everyone in our family had 1 or 2 jobs all the time.
Well, how old were you when a good friend of yours, the late Bill Cole, that you worked on what we called during the oil boom a tank farm?
Yes,
But today's society youth may not know what a tank farm is, and it was west of town.
Just a simile of tanks that they store oil in for pumping later on. Billy Cole came in here from, I don't know where, but he was a great friend of mine. He was a fine gentleman. He was a Golden Glove boxer. He could do almost anything. And so we needed a job one summer, and we found out that the tank farm west of Shelby, of Wilson, was offering 25 cents an hour for some boys to go out and pick up the rivets that they had knocked off these tanks just for scrap iron. And these tanks were all torn down, and the bottom of them had about this much of bottom sediments.
Oh.
Just old gummy oil that was down there, and we had to wear boots and walk out in that BS as bottom sediments.
I'm proud you explained that.
Well, in the oil field, that's what they call it in the bottom of the tank.
But it's called
bottom sediments. So we went out there and walked up in our boots, and we would push our hands down in that stuff and feel around for those rivets and pick them up and put them in a bucket. And
it's thick gummy.
Oh,
thick
yes.
Gummy
And then this was in the summer, and wait till the sun got out and the vapors started coming off that a little bit. We had to walk out occasionally and get our eyes uncrossed. But it was very tiring work, and the people that would hire us didn't want us to sit on the buckets while we picked it up. And that was a real problem.
Yeah, because you put in 8 hours.
Oh yes, 8 hours for 25 cents an hour. And when the boss went to get the mail or something, we did sit on the buckets. And he wanted so much production today, and he was really a hard-driving man. And when I got home, my mother wouldn't even let me come in the house. You know, I had to stand out back and take everything I had off. And she threw me a towel to come in the house. I came in and scrubbed for an hour or so, but that was tough work to do. In addition to that, of course, I played a lot of tennis here, and I helped my father run a sand green course southeast of Wilson that he built, and I helped him build it.
How many holes of golf?
9-hole golf course. And so I had all those jobs, and I ran the Daily Oklahoman every day. Incidentally, I saw the editor of the Daily Oklahoman one time, and I asked him if I had more seniority he had, and yes, I did. He came to work in his father's Daily Oklahoman. Yeah. And he's in the same national organization I'm in, so I know him very well. So I told him I had 1 year's seniority on him.
Well, you mentioned tennis, and I know you mentioned some names to me that everyone in Wilson knows, some close friends and competitors. I know you mentioned Billy Cole, but
yes.
Also Melvin Walker.
Right.
So many people never knew Melvin when he was a big tennis player, except your classmates.
Well, Melvin was a good tennis player, too, and Bill Cole was, too. I've always wanted a left-handed partner when you played doubles because we had down the middle both with our forehands, and that worked out pretty good. And I played with Melvin for a while, and Betty June Paxton and Joe Burke Blackman, who are both deceased now, they were very good females, and a fellow named Minnie McCown. I don't remember what his name was, but we had a good. We fielded 2 sets of doubles, 2 singles women and 2 singles men, and that was all you could enter. And everyone was shocked to see us come up with a full brigade to challenge anyone. And we played tennis all around this area here, and we played good tennis.
We were winners, too.
We won a lot of tournaments, too. And Billy Cole was just one of my very best friends. He was
very
such a
fine, elegant man.
Oh, yes.
I knew him
very
personally.
successful in life, too.
Yes, and he had a lovely wife, too.
Yes, he did.
You played in the band.
Yes.
We had an outstanding band.
Oh, yes, we had a championship band for 2 years in a row, and that incident alone gave us invitations from other places far away. For instance, Dallas was far away then.
Yes, yes.
And so we played, by invitation to them, in the first Cotton Bowl in the United States.
Oh, really?
And the second Cotton Bowl.
Oh, great.
That was 36 and 37. And
oh, wasn't that exciting?
when we paraded down at Dallas, and when we went out to the big stadium, I'd never seen a stadium like, all I ever saw was the Wilson Stadium, you know. Oh. And that was, we were in tall cotton down there, let me tell you. We really had a good time.
Oh, that's great. Well, your father, you know, you have known Carl Compton Jr. For years and years.
We lived across the street from each other, yes.
And your father and his father worked for Oklahoma Pipeline together?
Right, and we were all good friends. I thought his mother was the first saint I ever saw.
Wasn't she precious?
Oh, she was such a sweet lady. And Carl Sr. was quite a gentleman. He always impressed me when I was around with Carl's father and mother.
I didn't get to know him. He was deceased by the time I got to know him. I called her Julie. Her name was Jewel, but she was precious. But now, you went to school here in Wilson, but then the family left, and I think the Comptons and
also left, and a lot of people left out of Wilson to go to the Illinois field for the Oklahoma Pipeline Company, and later was called Interstate Pipeline Company. Let me go back just a minute. We had some very good golfers here as a result of that.
Yes.
And we played a circuit with all the towns around here. Chickasaw, we played with them, and we played with Ringland and Healdton and Ardmore. Our group would go to their course once a year, and they'd come back to our course once a year and play us. And we had some, of course, my father was the outstanding golfer here, and And I was getting to where, when I left, I was getting to where I could beat him a little bit. But when the pressure was down, when the pressure was on me, why, he always won.
Well, listen, yesterday afternoon at your reception and autograph signing, a name came up.
Yes.
That was discussed.
Yes.
And, of course, one of them was Robert Sides, Bob Sides,
Yeah.
and who you'd gone to school with. And you said, you know, it brought back from years,
Yeah.
and you wanted to know where he was living. We told you in Louisiana. But then another name, and Aaron Dry. You said Aaron Dry. Aaron Dry. Is he a...
Chicoto Indian.
Yes. And we said yes. And so go ahead and tell about that.
Well, who would ever forget a name like Aaron Dry? And he was an Indian, and when I was up looking at who I was playing next, there was one fellow up there was a coach. Now, we never had the benefit of coach down here, but he said, well, if you're going to play him, you better have some good legs, because those Chicoto Indians are really in top shape all the time. And he was. He ran me pretty good. I did handle him, but it wasn't easy.
But then you went on to you played him at state.
Yes.
Is that where it was?
Yeah.
And what year was that?
I wrote him a little note and said it was either 38 or 39, and I've forgotten which one it was.
Kansas State meet.
And by the way, Billy Cole and I was played in the quarterfinals in doubles up the state, and we got beat in the quarterfinals. But that's pretty good for two Wilson boys to go around with all the rest of these people. And one of the things that embarrassed me was that I would go to Durant to those tournaments and so forth, and our venue over here was to wear your old clothes when you was playing golf and playing tennis. When we got over to where they really played tennis, you know, they had these little white trousers on down here and white knit shirts and everything, and we looked like a couple of bombs up there. But we just didn't know any better.
You put your heart and soul into it.
That's right. That's right.
You went out to win.
No one was outside the possibility of us beating them, I'll tell you that.
You know, a group of you people from that era, like the late Louis Gandy, the late Bill Cole, Joe McDonnell, and Chuck Heath, and others, but I know I knew you four personally, all went out into the world and put that same dedication and perseverance in, and you made a success of it. You went on and you served in the military, and I noticed that you wrote a letter to your children for future, not to be read after you're gone, telling them about your life, but especially about your World War II, and not to forget the values that you fought for and so many of your buddies lost their lives for. This created in you a desire to use your personal experience, your education, and everything to write some books. Let's focus. You know, I've kept a copy of all of your writings. So let's focus on your writings, and you tell just a brief. These are some of your essays, and tell about this, the one that you won the Freedom Foundation Award on. Or focus on any of those that you want to, briefly.
Well, I can't. In fact, I don't think it's up there. Is it?
Faith and there's Faith and Fear versus Fear. There's Shall We Also Build the Gallows? And there's Citizens and Soldiers, and then America, the Last Bastion of. Is that the one that? What was it that John Glenn presented you with the?
Yes, I did write one that won a national essay prize, and John Glenn, who was then, that was in 1965, and so he was just the first man that had circled the globe in the universe, and he hadn't become a senator then, but it was something that we were real proud about. And when I came out of service in the Marine Corps, I did see some things that I didn't like about our political system. There's nothing wrong with our system. I'm sorry I said that, but it's just being misused, I think, at times. So I had worked on that for many years, and I wrote my last book in what, 92 or 3?
I think it was 93. Well, I know that all of these, you have been interested in the government, free enterprise. You never really focus on whether Republican or Democratic,
no,
just conservatism
I don't
and the
get
values.
into that. I don't get into the political parties. I would lose what credit I had as a political. By the way, my college degree was in political science, so I had some good background to start the writing on that.
Okay, well, let's take a look at your books. You've written 4 books, and there's let's focus on each one just a little bit. The Golden Egg, The Goose, and Us.
Well, that's out of Esau, you know, wrote about the golden egg, the goose, and us, and that's what I'm talking about. He finally got so greedy that he killed the goose and took what few little eggs he had out of there because he wanted it right then, the gold in it right then.
So that can be associated with people.
Equated with our great republic. We are somewhat abusing it financially. We've got $6 billion worth of debt. We'll never pay that off in real dollars, and we're absolutely pushing it off so our children and grandchildren will have to pay this. And that shows how the greed of people when they can get money is compared to Esau, who robbed this goose when he had a golden egg coming out every day. He couldn't wait for it.
Let's go on to one of your next ones, The Blessings of Liberty. Now, this was your last book.
Yes, it is.
This, you know, we need to stop and count our blessings and realize the blessings of liberty.
Yeah, and we are born free, but if we're going to stay free, we're going to have to respect it and earn it, and that's what this book's about.
Chuck, is this the book that you were contacted from Europe on some of the things to...
Well, I think it was a result of that. I had a chance at one time to write some for a paper in Russia after they kicked the communists out over there. But it just never did work out. We just never could get together for some way or some reason or another. I think communications had a lot to do with that. But later on, I was glad that I didn't make that connection because there's just so many things that involved in it. And I found out that I write a lot. Of course, I write a lot about free enterprise. It's the greatest system in the world. But over there, that's the greedy. When you talk about someone being for free enterprise, he's for just being greedy, you know. And so the terminology has changed quite a bit, and I was sorry in some ways I didn't get it, but nevertheless, I was
great experience.
Real proud to have been asked.
Okay, we have Look Up or Look Out.
Well, that's the moral part of this mostly. There's been...
Is that focusing, looking really way up?
What? Yeah, that's right. There's F.A. Hayek, famous Austrian economist, wrote a great deal about the free enterprise country or free country could not long stand without a moral society.
That's right.
And John Smith, who was pretty much the author of our present modern society, economics, and he wrote quite a bit about that you cannot stay free without having a moral society.
Well, every society that lost their moral fiber,
Rome,
fell.
And we're going down like a heavy weight in water right now, and mostly because of the Hollywood crowd just imposing upon us bad language and bad practices, and it's getting to where that even in the G-rated thing they use the Lord's name in vain. And that's not the only problem we have. We have a physical problem with the Congress not balancing the budget and paying off our debt, and we have all this immorality around with all the gangs and all that. And simply, we just don't have the guts to enforce things.
Well, Chuck, don't you think some self-discipline? You know, like you said greedy. We want it right here, right now.
Right
Give
now.
it right now. And
And
then
it doesn't make any difference if it's somebody else's money. You see.
Okay, we have another book. Before we go on, we have just a few minutes. You Can Save America. And this points out what each one of us can do.
Yeah.
You can save.
That book went better than all the rest, and it was the first book I wrote, and I had editors asking me to write others. One that I wrote for was out of San Diego, and but this one right here is to say that we are a republic, a free republic, and a republic creates more wealth than any other system. If you can work and keep most of what you have, then you work harder for it. And that's what caused, we left the whole world in our dust when we came up about 100 years ago and had all the scientific things and all the medicine things, and we spread it all the way around the world. They're beholding to us for those things. We came to the help of Europeans in World War II and World War I because we could produce all these things, and but you can't have that without, you can't give all of your power to a politician in Washington and let it go at that. You have got to play a part yourself. You can save America.
Okay, that's great, and that's some good thoughts. We want to go on. I have 3 pictures here that I want you to elaborate on a little bit. You know, you're always anxious to come back to Wilson. You're always so appreciative when and to help us in any way and cooperative in any way possible. You were very supportive in our library fundraising, and then you came back as guest speaker one year for the commencement class, graduating seniors, and then you were was guest speaker at our Chamber of Commerce one year. You came back for homecoming in 1990. So, and then you have you met several special people. This is when you were speaking to the Chamber of Commerce, and we want to elaborate on that. I want to go on and focus on 2 other pictures to where you met. Pardon me. You met a special person from Wilson, former Wilsonite Larry Dumas, in 1990, yes. And he was he's local boy that grew up and went on and worked hard, and there he is on the right, and he's Miss Myrtle Dumas' son, well, Miss Myrtle Dumas Davis, and he is director of NASA, the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, California. And you had a great visit, but also there at that homecoming 90, and when you visited and with Chuck Norris on that, what we focused on, bringing the great, some of the great people, former Wilsonites back to Wilson. You met a special young lady, Linda Thompson.
Yes, I sure
who
did.
Had a tragic accident when she was in high school and paralyzed from neck down due to a trampoline injury. She painted by holding a brush with her mouth. And this painting here was one that where through mine and your cooperation we got an art showing for her in Ardmore at the Chickasaw Library, and this was one of the paintings. Beautiful. She does great work.
Oh yes.
And she presented a painting, one of her paintings, to Chuck Norris at that, and that's when you met her and were so impressed with her. She is now well, she has resided in Hilton all this time, and of course you didn't get to see her this time due to, I think, illness in the family, but she's there next to Chuck, and Chuck, wasn't she an inspiration through her determination?
She inspired me. I went over to visit her, but she always inspired me.
Yes.
She's quite a lady. She has studied and learned from books being played through television, and she learned to paint with holding, you know, she can't...
Well, wait just a minute before you go any further.
Okay.
I want to elaborate.
Okay.
You were so impressed and found and knew that the library should be able to mail things to someone homebound like that.
Yeah.
And there wasn't anything being done here in Oklahoma, and you yourself personally went to your library in Shelby, North Carolina, and mailed directly for 2 years, every month, books on anything.
12 books a month.
Yes, yes, at your own expense and everything, because you wanted this. You saw the hunger for education in her.
And I kept in contact with her quite a bit, and we worked out a lot of things. But let's don't get down to.
Oh well, I know, but I wanted to.
But she was a fine lady, and the accomplishments she made with being a quadriplegic was outstanding. But she has now married a real nice, handsome guy, and that tops everything else off. And, and if you're looking at the Wilson thing now, I'll throw you a kiss.
She's precious. Well,
just
Chuck,
be sure and tell them that they can they can get my books at the library. They're all at the library, and you can go over there and check them out, any one of those.
Yes, at the Wilson Library. Okay, on this, Chuck, you and your family have always been very active in church. You and your wife, Robin, still live in Shelby, North Carolina. You have had your own natural gas consulting company for years, the Heath and Associates in Shelby. I could go on and on and on. I have 2 pages of his accomplishments, but he's very modest. He told me not to read them. He didn't want to elaborate on that.
Well, there's no reason to do that. Do we have any other questions?
Well, you know, Chuck, our time has just about run out. 30 minutes has gone by almost. And is there any word of advice you'd like to give to our school students or to anyone watching?
Oh, yes. Yes. Work hard. Practice, practice, practice. That's what makes the golfers good, what makes the tennis players good, that's what makes the speakers good. Anything you see in life of great accomplishment, they have practiced, practice, practice. And that starts with your smile. I was telling the young ladies over at the commencement, if they're a little bashful, go by in front of a mirror and practice your smile. And practice whatever you're going to do in life. Reading is practice too. So always, you know, you can fly a lot higher than you think, and that's especially correct for the Wilson Eagles.
Chuck, it's been good having you today, and I know that one thought you'd say, and I'll finish on, is that no matter what color of skin you have, no matter what financial status your family may be, or from a broken home or whatever, you can go ahead and with dedication, perseverance, and a faith in God, you can succeed. Remember